anointed myself with oil because I was after God's own heart, which David is really the one. But really, I invited a battle that I was not ready for, in my opinion. And the spiritual warfare, they call it.
Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Atheist Vanguard. I'm Derek Hawke.
I'm Rachel Watson.
And I am Jim Barrows.
All right, let's jump into today's interview.
What's going on, man? My name's Shane. We've been talking for a few minutes
Chris.
now. All right.
Let's do that.
Yeah. So we were talking a few minutes ago. We decided to continue our conversation since we, have the time, which, by the way, thank you, is awesome.
Hey, man. I appreciate that, dude.
Yeah. Likewise, man.
I appreciate that, dude.
Yeah. I love having conversations with people that I disagree with. It's fun to learn. So we started talking about an encounter that you had, and it was something that you said was demonic. And I just want to kind of touch on...
Let me just pause right there. Let me just explain.
Okay.
Let me just take it slow. And I'll get to the point.
Did you describe the experience around being around sin first?
Hang on.
Okay.
Oh, that, yeah.
Yeah, start with the sin.
Well, no, that was before. That was way before after I got saved. I pretty much, God, dude. I stripped myself butt naked, okay, and got oil in my closet and anointed myself with oil because I was after God's own heart, which David is really the one. But really, I invited a battle that I was not ready for, in my opinion. And the spiritual warfare, they call it. The scripture is spiritual warfare. We were, I don't know the exact scripture, but we're battling things that are basically not seen. Mm-hmm. That's the scripture. People will know the scripture if they know this, the Bible. Anyhow, so it got so powerful to the point where I was like, I could walk into a store and pretty much feel on the magazines. That's what tripped me out. The magazines, I could feel it was almost like a projection, but not. I don't like it's not a psychosis. I'm literally like I felt it.
Do you remember what was on the magazine cover?
It was women being promiscuous.
Basically. Being promiscuous. And there was a physical negative feeling.
No. It was like, oh no, I don't want that.
Yeah, like a negative, like. Well,
yeah, I don't want
was
that.
It kind of like?
Yeah. And it's not that I want that. It was just I could feel it. Normally, you just walk in. It's just a magazine, no big deal.
Yeah.
But this was when I decided to get, butt fucking naked in my excuse my language.
You're fine.
But and anoint myself with oil. And there's a movie, the last Indiana Jones movie. Mm-hmm. She asked for God's power, and she received it, or these aliens' power, the Greys or whatnot. And so they looked her in the eyes, and so she's basically exploded. So I felt like I asked for way too much. It wasn't like asking for it. It's just I received the battle that I was not ready for. I was young, and I won't even do it right now. I won't, because it's just way too strong. It's way too strong, and that's basically how I can describe it, dude. And the sum of words. That's it's about.
So whatever this spiritual warfare that occurred, you're saying it's something that was visible after this warfare had been invited.
No, we're talking about a different encounter.
Oh, a different encounter. Okay.
That was way later when I was an adult.
It was way later when you got there. Okay.
Yeah, I had marriage. Only tattoo I have. 10 years of marriage, Tiffany.
Okay.
Two boys, and beautiful kids, man. Hair like him, hair like me. Well, they have blonde locks, but yeah, beautiful. But dude, it was crazy. Here's the story.
All right.
Around about 3 o'clock in the morning or so, I'm pretty sure it was around that time, somewhere around there. I'm laying in bed, and I'm dreaming. I'm in my REM sleep, I think. It's what you call rapid eye movement. REM sleep, which is your deepest sleep. It's when you're in your spiritual. There's something called DMT, dimethyltryptamine,
right?
Which is released during your REM sleep.
Right.
Also, sometimes you go into that state before you die.
Yeah.
You go into like a comatose type state, Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Your brain does release DMT
Yeah.
in like near-death experiences and stuff like that.
And what's really fucked up, excuse my language, is that it's outlawed in America, DMT.
Yeah, my favorite
I
line.
don't like that.
By
They don't want your minds open, it seems like. Come on now.
Yeah.
Give it up.
I mean, it's an interesting thing to say that it's a chemical that exists in everybody.
It's in plants. You can derive
right.
it from grass. And
personally, I'm not going to give an opinion advocating
Right,
for
I understand.
or against it because,
right.
you know.
Understand. No,
our
DMT
show-
is
right.
it's in your motherfucking body. How are you going to
Right.
not advocate it?
Oh, I understand the point that you're making.
It's called the spirit molecule, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the one that connects you to the other dimension, which is where you go when you're REM sleep. And they want to try to hold that down, the dark side, if you will. It's my opinion. It's my opinion, like you said.
Right.
It's my opinion. That's it. They want to hold you down, it seems like. So what happened is, during my REM sleep, there was a being that came to me. It felt like an alien. Like, it literally, like, I don't even know how to describe it. The alien part. I don't know how to describe, excuse me. I drink. Cheers. It's how I deal with my own psychosis. I'm just playing. But anyhow, it felt like literally like alien, like the word alien. Like it felt not of anything I ever felt before. Just not anything I ever felt before. Alien, literally, the word. Like if you could capture that word and understand it, what it means, it felt like that. Alien.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. The second thing, it was very calm. Very calm. Very calm. It had horns, huge horns. It had sunken in face, sunken in it wasn't like a baby face satanic image of Satan. No, like human. No, it had like really like hard lines in its eyes, and it was all sunken in. It wanted me. It wasn't there to harm me, but it wanted me to look him in the face. He had teeth. But he had this darkness that you could not see through, but you could see through it. It was almost like a hologram, almost. It was great. It was great, but it was amazing and absolutely terrifying. Here's the terrifying part: is that I found out later, but at that time I didn't know. It felt like I was feeling 1,000 torturous to the max, torture to the max to every.
Really?
Yes.
So an agony
1,000
and fear at the same time.
Yes,
Okay.
all at the same time, 1,000, like literally about 1,000 deaths of torture and pain, absolute, unbelievable torture and pain. But he was just sitting there, and I couldn't understand why he was just sitting there because I'm freaking out, and I'm screaming. My wife touches me on my arm, and when she touched me, I seen her hands, and her hands were reptilian. Or later I found that out. I didn't know that at the time.
Okay.
This is like after the fact.
Yeah.
I did research and found that out later. But she had like 3 fingers. She touched me, and I freaked out like that, and I jumped off the bed, screaming bloody murder because that's what it felt like, bloody murder. And so I jumped off the bed and screaming, and then he left. But I did look him in the face. I did look him in the eyes.
So the encounter happened during your REM sleep?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then basically, I'm looking at him as I'm sleeping, right? Basically, is how I could imagine it. If I had a camera, I think is probably what it would look like. And so he looked at me straight in the face, dude, and I looked at him, and he didn't have no ill will against me at all. But
okay, so it looked scary.
I could feel that he didn't want to hurt me. He had respect for me.
Okay.
Which is really odd.
So I've heard a few
retrospect.
people who believe in Christianity, the Bible claims like that. They say that when they encounter angels, that the angels actually look scary. What do you believe this was an angel?
I believe it was a demon.
A demon, okay. It sounded more like that at first, but I wanted to clarify because you said it didn't want to hurt you.
It was a demon. It was a demon, but it didn't want to hurt me.
But it didn't want to hurt you.
No, I think there's a difference between demon and
angels. Do you recall for sure? They're almost opposites, right?
Not really. No, because you're right though. I do kind of understand that how angels can be absolutely fucking terrifying. Excuse my language.
Right.
I get that.
Yeah. All right, man. Well,
That's it, man. That's my encounter.
This is a good story. I'm gonna let you get going pretty soon.
It's not just a story, dude. This is what fucking happened to me.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean story isn't fake. I definitely believe your experience.
Yeah. No, it's an experience. That is. Sure.
Do you think the one final question I have is you talked about being in REM sleep during this encounter? Would you describe yourself as being kind of half asleep? Because it doesn't sound like you think this was just a dream. It sounds like you think
what
this was
happened is
something real.
it was a dream. I'm looking at him, and I just don't want to look at him, and then I looked at him finally, looked at him in the face, and then I fucking started screaming. And that's when I jumped out of the sleep.
Okay.
And then my wife touched my arm, and I saw her hands, and it freaked me out.
That's when that makes sense now.
Yeah, and then I jumped off the bed, like literally jumped off the bed and was screaming until it was gone.
All right, man. Well,
So
thank you
that's it.
again for.
But hey, it's
the
not all
interview.
about demons, man.
Oh,
What
totally.
it really is about, it's about Christ, the one, the Son. We can't live without it.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm
Wow
not sure
is
where to
right.
start.
Yeah.
Start with you, Jim. What are your takes on this discussion? Oh, by the way, a great job on that interview, Shane. Really good.
I think the first thing is we, of course, can't know exactly what he experienced. So if it sounds like I'm saying what he experienced was false, I'm not. I don't know what he experienced.
Right.
I have two similar things that have happened to me. One of which I was half awake. My body was still locked up because when you get into a deep sleep, the body does lock and stop moving. So my body was locked, but for some reason my brain was awake, and I felt a cat jumping around my legs, and which is really odd because I don't have a cat.
That would be disconcerting.
Yeah, and I can remember going through, what is this thing bouncing around my legs? 'Cause I feel like little paws jumping. And it was like, that's too heavy for, I was rationalizing this thing. It's too heavy for a mouse, too small for a dog, must be a cat. Because that's all I had was the sensory, quote unquote, input
Right.
of a cat walking up the sheets on either side of your legs. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, no, I'm really just asleep and my body's locked up, and I have no idea what sensory inputs are actually coming in. But I think that if you have a supernatural bent to your life, or an extraterrestrial bent to your life, it'd be very easy to take something like that and interpret it in all kinds of different ways. Me being more of a realist or more of a detectivist or more objective in my viewpoint, didn't go that route. But I think it'd be very easy to go that route, wake up in this very weird state. And I've woken up in that state a couple of times. One time it completely freaked me out because I couldn't figure out why I couldn't move. And that freaked me out. And I didn't gain control enough. And so I did have to violently throw myself out of the bed to break out of it.
Right.
That's very interesting you say that because I've had very similar experiences. I've labeled it as sleep paralysis. And the very first one that I had, I was in the military, I was 19, and I was in my bed and I had the covers over myself. And in the dream state, it felt like all corners of the sheets were suddenly pulled on unison and it's almost strapped down.
Yeah.
I, too, had little things jumping on top of me. In my mind, though, I interpreted it as a movie I just recently saw called Goonies. Or Ghoulies.
Ghoulies, yeah.
No, I'm sorry, The Gate.
Okay.
With the little demons about that big.
Right,
And that's
right.
what in my mind, that's what I had visioned what they were like. And I was in a state where I was immobile. I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. And I had a sense of a demonic presence that was because of just the state I was in. I've had them throughout my life. I think I've had them it's been about maybe 5 years since I've had the last one, but it did migrate from a demonic type of influence or persuasion to more of like an alien abduction type thing.
Yeah.
And it switched back and forth between demons, ghosts, and aliens.
Right.
But it all had similar things, and it always has that sense of darkness.
Right.
But it's we are pattern seeking creatures, and these are the patterns that I chose to adopt.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting too when I look back on them that the first one I had control over to an extent, right? I recognized the state I was in. The second time, I was completely panicked that I couldn't move.
Interesting.
It would be interesting to go back and look at what I was dreaming about before I hit
that
that
happened, yeah.
partially woke state, and go, maybe the fear was because I was running for something, having a nightmare or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas the other one, I wasn't really. It's hard to say.
Right.
But if it's really weird to know that your body is feeling things that can't possibly be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so vividly.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the early arrival of these type of things that were very invasive in the dream, whereas you would be dreaming normally, and it would violently insert itself. It was like, whoa. And I could understand somebody who is indoctrinated into this spiritual warfare, to think that it's some type of malevolent outside entity trying to insert its will or dominance over you. Very easy.
Right.
And it's just the things that your brain can do and come up with.
I'm glad I didn't have any of those experiences because I would have freaked out.
It was like virtual reality nightmares.
Yeah. No, because when I missed some crucial growing up years when I was young due to sickness, and I had problems separating that reality from fake. Like watch Freddy Krueger, and I'm like, well, Freddy's coming to get me. And I mean,
1, 2.
Clear into my teens and everything. So if I would have had sleep paralysis, that would have just freaked me out. Because I would go like in a dark hallway, and I'm like, well, there's a ghost following me or whatever. Just my brain would do that. But it's interesting because you always hear like with sleep paralysis, like the first one freaks them out. And then the second one, typically they're like, okay, I've experienced this before.
Right.
That's an interesting aspect of it.
It is. It's very interesting, and from what I understand, it's your brain is in a state of awokeness or whatever,
Right.
and your body is still under that. I guess because when you are asleep, your body actually shuts down its muscle control so that you don't go flopping around.
Right.
Kind of
Right.
like the dog, that was kind of sleeping. It's kind of doing.
Doing the little run
Basically.
thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's very. It's also the only time I ever had dreams where you don't know if you're still awake or asleep. It's still kind of there may be a sense of this kind of dream worldish, but it's really based in reality, and you are in your bed. You're in everything's familiar, and all of a sudden this outside force inserts itself. But there's scientific evidence as far as what is going on. It's well documented.
Like your brain is not outside force, but your brain interprets it as this outside force coming through. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I've had the dreams where you're like half awake, half asleep, and then you hear something or something,
And it
and
integrates
then you're
into
like you're was somebody at the door? It's 4 a.m. Like what's going on, kind of thing. But I've had the dreams where you're like falling, and then when you go to hit the ground, you just start awake real quick.
Right.
Did that in junior high, and that was not fun.
You ever fly when you sleep?
No,
Me neither.
Mine's usually ever falling.
I glide, but I don't fly.
Yeah.
I've never. I've only ever fallen. That's I don't know. Maybe I'm a fallen.
Have you ever
person.
encountered a demon in your dreams?
Oh, probably, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have very like surrealist dreams. Like they're weird. But
I don't remember most of mine, so.
Yeah.
That's what I was reminded of with this video is it's someone recounting a dream that they were having because it was like, oh, we've got this darkness that you can't see through, but you can see through it. And it's just trying to explain your dream to people. It's like it's real to you and you really remember it, and then you're telling the person and they're just like.
Well, a really
Okay,
interesting
whatever.
side note to this sleep paralysis is that its earlier term, before it was called sleep paralysis, was referred to as entity sleep phenomenon. Because there was always some type of entity either watching over you, holding you down, restraining you in some fashion. And, it's kind of interesting that the brain goes to that.
Right.
Right. Well, because honestly, that's the closest thing I would describe is that, if you've never experienced your body being locked like that, the nearest thing you could say is that you're being held immobile as opposed to almost anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I kind of get that because, again, it's pattern recognition.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to be held down immobile. This is the closest thing to it, so that's what I'm going to describe it as.
And a lot of characters in history, they resulted from that. You look at paintings and they show demonic figures sitting on people's chests, the succubus, the incubus, all that type of thing. That's probably where this derives from.
Right.
Could be. And I
And
wonder how.
you're not sleeping, so some of the after effects would then be, you're tired and you're dragging and all the rest of those things because you're not asleep at that point.
Yeah.
You
Right.
are
You're not getting
mostly
rest.
awake,
Right.
and mostly asleep. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what the percentages are.
He didn't
Yeah.
mention this, but a lot of times associated with sleep paralysis is a phenomenon called the shadow people.
That's what I keep hearing. Like
And the shadow
shadowy,
people,
blobby people.
I've experienced shadow people during extreme exhaustion, like extended times being, like when I was in the military, we had to stay up all this time, and you would see them.
right.
They love to hang out in the corner of your eyes. Actually, I used to call them
Right.
rabbits. They were rabbits to me, but
Yeah.
I mean,
because if you look dead on at them, they're not there anymore.
Not there.
Because it was
that's how they get you.
But
Yes.
I wonder how external drug use kind of plays into this, because I've never taken DMT. I have no desire ever to take DMT or ayahuasca.
Sounds like an interesting
all
trip.
that stuff. Yeah, I'm wondering if some of that played into it, like if he did the drug earlier in the day.
Did he
or
do the
something,
drug?
and-
Because he talks
I
about
don't know.
the thing about this guy who's very disjointed. It's really hard to kind of follow his
Right.
train of thought because it was so tangential that it just went in all sorts of directions.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't see how Shane could have kept up with him.
Oh, she
Yeah.
did a great job, though. for
Yeah,
real.
he did a good job, and it was hard to tell which story he was telling
Yeah.
at any given moment. But I think too that's part of the ability. Sometimes it seems like we're picking on these people because they come to this conversation without really having put their thoughts in order in many cases.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
And
we're
facing
trying
someone
to-
who has.
we're trying to draw that out of
Yeah.
him with the
Right.
interviews and everything. But
Right.
I don't think we're picking on him. We're interpreting what they're saying and
Right.
looking at it from a little bit more skeptical
Yeah,
viewpoint.
and trying to give them put together some things for them that they may not have thought of.
Right.
But especially with something like this person is just really kind of all over the place
Yeah.
trying to put things together.
yeah, that like we said, like that hodgepodge or that blender
Yeah.
kind of effect. Because he talks about Indiana Jones and that lady. I had to rewatch it because the Crystal Skull. I had no desire to
The
rewatch
worst
it.
of them.
That's
Yeah.
a
I know,
blasphemy. That's
but
blasphemy.
I know. And then so I watched it again, and it was some alien thing, and she was like, "I want your power.
yeah.
Show me. I'm ready."
Yeah.
And gets this power, and then literally like blows up into energy or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And
He equates that to the.
not sure that I'm
warfare.
glad. I'm not sure if I'm happy or sad that he did not go into why he got naked and covered himself. in
Yeah,
oil
I
in the
know.
closet.
I was gonna say that.
So
I
that-
normally would like to know
Yeah, so
about
let's
getting butt
talk
naked
about
and
that
anointing yourself.
So that's the intro to this spiritual warfare that he felt that he was engaged in and not ready for, and was linked to this relation of this movie. Getting too much information that it almost
Right.
imploded. What do you think about spiritual welfare and today's religious believer?
Yeah, I don't know. I was never in that kind of Pentecostal-y kind of evangelical where you're doing that warfare kind of thought. I mean, I always did believe, like he mentioned the what was it? Ephesians, where he says we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but
Yeah.
against powers and principalities. and-
Basically, don't fear man, fear what you can't see.
Right, essentially, yeah, he brings that up. I wrote down the quote. I'm not going to read it. Everybody knows it, but it's Ephesians 6:12. But my thought with that initially was, from what I hear from people with that spiritual warfare, they say it is powerful, but they're able to do it because of God. And I remember that Philippians.
I
4
actually don't know that quote.
Which one? The
Ephesians, the one you just said that everybody.
oh, really?
knows. Yeah.
It's very
it's that literally.
It's
I think
basically
it was
don't fear what man can do to you. Fear what the spirits and the demons can do to you.
right.
How are
I'll
they
read it here
defining
real quick.
spirits and demons?
Well, it says, we wrestle
not.
not with flesh and blood, but against powers, against rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So it's people interpret that as basically like, we're not like, if we're going to war or something, we're not doing, we're not just fighting the people, we're fighting the dark power that's like controlling them, and stuff like that.
So how are we
New World
defining dark
Order.
power, and how are we defining like control?
That's the.
Oh, sorry. Was I
No,
bringing way
you're-
too much?
Yeah, a little bit too much
skepticism.
rationality.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No,
Basically, is anything that they don't believe in is godly.
Right.
But you always hear the other quote is that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
He also says that demons will flee from the name of Christ.
Yeah, I did that. I had that because of my, that not separating reality and from fiction is. I had that. It's in Mark, I think, or Matthew, one of them. But it's
I recently spent a lot of time, the last 4 straight days with fairly religious group, and I found it really saddening to what they attribute to these dark forces. The devil, in their mind, the devil has so much power and is responsible for so much. And it's really sad that we're in 2019 and still hold this this superstitious belief. What really caught my interest though was that, okay, so you are involved in a spiritual warfare. Number one, why? Number two, why would you? What are your defenses against these things other than blind belief? And three, why would God put you in a position where you are in this battle where you really have no means of defending yourself other than believing in something?
Right. If these are supernatural things, and God is supernatural, isn't that His fight, not ours?
Right.
Because we can't see, we can't do, and we apparently can't separate demonic possession versus defects in the brain.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So how do we figure this stuff out?
Yeah.
I had this one gentleman talk about how if you could see into the spiritual plane, you would see basically demons surrounding you, tempting you, offering, trying to influence you, and that's the godly man, and which is, this is the epitome of self-righteousness right here.
Right.
That you're so significant in this scheme plan that the demons are flocking around you, whereas the evil person is all left alone because the devil's already got them. It's you, the righteous one, that the demons are concerned about. I'm like, well, why? I mean, what's so important? What is so important? Or is it just a numbers game?
Yeah, exactly.
I got another soul. Ha ha ha.
That's what I believed when I was younger and in that kind of belief. I didn't think that people like you couldn't battle the spiritual warfare battle. It was that you were God and the devil were basically trying to get you on their side, and you hear that with God needed another angel. My grandmother died. God needed another angel, and it's basically like cannon fodder. We just throw the souls at the devil, and I guess they die in this spiritual war. That's kind of what I believed, and you see that in like the movies like Spawn and Constantine and stuff like that.
And TV show Supernatural deals with that.
Yeah,
is souls are power cells.
Yeah,
and it is literally a power struggle over who has the most power.
Right.
Yeah,
and whoever can collect the most souls has the most power and wins.
Yeah.
And yet God created the Satan and all the rest.
And he's all powerful.
And he's all powerful, so why does he? Yeah.
And then he lets, what I believed was that, God was all powerful, but, to test us or whatever reason, I didn't really think about it that much, but gave Satan control of the world for 2,000 years. And
my theory is that through time, Satan, as the way he's interpreted and communicated, has grown more and more powerful. And my theory, or my belief, or kind of, I guess, theory for lack of a better word, hypothesis, is that
conjecture,
yep, is that in stories you see this in comic books. That's why they've rebooted the universe so many times. Is that your story is only as good as the villain, and when your superhero or your protagonist gets too powerful, they get boring.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to dial it back. Usually the hero gets less powerful and the villain gets more powerful, so there's more challenge and therefore makes an interesting story. But regardless, your story is only as good as your villain.
Right.
Yeah, interesting.
And it reminds me, was starting a role-playing game for a couple of friends of mine, one who'd never done role-playing games before. And so as she was doing her character, her boyfriend helped her. And it ended up with this character who was an absolutely wonderful character to play if you weren't in a world where evil was a real thing, where you had monsters whose only purpose in life was to devour humans and things like that. Had this been in a more realistic world instead of a fantasy world, the character would have been a really good character. Negotiation skills, those kinds of things, very, very soft skills. But no skills to stop the werewolf from biting your head off. No combat skills, no conflict resolution skills, because in those settings, evil is a real thing. There are, in fact, things whose only purpose in life and why do they evolve this way? Why do they exist?
Right.
Only to give the characters something to fight against.
Right.
Only to give you that sense of conflict.
Well, I think that's what this, Satan being the adversary or whatever.
Yeah.
It's you gotta, if you're gonna have people do good in life, then you have to scare them thinking that there's something else. And it's, like the verse about that you make Satan flee or whatever. I used to do that laying in bed, and I would be like, "Away with you, Satan, in the name of Lord and Savior Jesus Christ."
Get thee behind me.
Yeah, basically, it was something like that. And I would chant that over
Wouldn't
and
you
over
want
till I
him in
fell
front of
asleep.
you to see what he's doing as opposed to behind you? 'Cause
Yeah, you don't
know
want
what
to
he's doing back
backstab
there.
her. You want to front stab her. Oh,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
that's too.
I want to keep my eye on him. I want to know what he's doing. He could be doing. He could be
Yeah.
making bunny faces behind your head.
Right?
Yeah, nobody's
has
ever done
funny
that.
faces.
Yeah, it also gives you something to hate.
Right, exactly.
And it gives you an excuse to hate people, and I don't think that is a good thing.
Yeah. It also helps you, or is another way to divert. Accountability.
Yeah,
The devil made me do it.
Yeah, the devil made me
The
do it.
devil's in you.
Yep.
yeah, and that's the excuse for everything.
Devil
And-
inside.
Right.
Everybody.
Well,
I'm sorry. I'm
apparently
not
the-
allowed to sing
Yeah.
on the show anymore.
Apparently, the devil's
Sorry.
inside magazines and stores. That was a new one to me. I've never heard that.
Yeah,
Never heard that one.
I've heard variations of that because of
Maybe it depends on what store he's going into.
no. 'Cause, I
Right.
mean, even you can look at a lot of the magazines, even the quote unquote men's magazines,
Yeah,
the
sex
car
sells.
magazines, and the
Yeah.
motorcycle magazines and stuff like that. There's always a good looking woman on.
Well, no, he
bikini.
said a woman acting promiscuously.
Well, yeah, they are. I mean, they're
So it's
they're
her fault.
Well, they're
that
wearing
he tempted-
bikinis
that
and
she
sitting on
tempted him.
top of a motorcycle
in very suggestive ways.
in very
Yeah.
suggestive ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So was that the reason why he went into his closet and anointed himself?
I
with
don't
oil?
know. I
See,
still
he started off with the anointed, and then he's talking about the magazines, and he said that's when I decided to anoint myself. I'm not sure. I've never got the whole anointing.
I didn't know
in
if he
your
was going to go
religious-
wrestling something or
Not yet.
No.
Now, in your religious travels, have you ever been anointed with oil?
No, it was always like I never
I have.
believed in like anointed oil. It was always like holy water.
I have.
thing.
yeah,
I have-
Go into
for confirmation
Yeah.
as a Catholic.
I had I contracted chickenpox when I was 14. So as you know, as the older you get, it gets more severe. And I was really sick. And my dad, he anointed me with oil. It was goddamn cooking oil. There was nothing.
Yeah, some canola.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Oh, when
Vegetable
my
oil.
grandmother-
I was anointed by holy vegetable oil.
right. You got some mazola going on.
Shoot.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard that in like Mormon podcasts and YouTube shows that I watch where they talk about this anointing oil that these people have around, and it's usually this oil that's so old it's gone rancid, and they're just rubbing rancid oil on people
Or vegetable
to heal
oil.
them.
Yeah, and
Well,
the
yeah,
Catholic Church is
olive
a
oil
little
kind of Yeah,
more posh than that. I mean,
Right.
They have I don't know what the oil is. It's a different special oil that only the priest can do.
Oh,
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think we call that lube.
I'm
maybe
sure the
shouldn't have
priests
gone
do
there.
in some
Right?
cases, depending.
Rachel, get thee behind me.
Sorry. Let me take a sip out of my secular sexuality mug.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just the whole anointing with oil. I don't know
Yeah, I've
what
never-
that does.
And
would
why
you
did
have to-
why did he have to be buck naked for?
I know. And
Because
why would
normally
you do
they just
that?
do a little cross on the
Yeah.
forehead.
Yeah,
something.
it's
Why would
symbolic.
you need oil to like? I always thought that you could get Jesus in your heart or God in your life by just asking or like being open to it and be like, God, please give me the power to fight the spiritual warfare. I
Well,
would
why
have
did
never
they
put
do
oil on.
communion? It's all symbolic,
Yeah.
Of course, I think
they
communion
just
is a
wanted a
little
sip
more
of wine.
weirder because you're pretending to drink blood and eat the flesh of somebody. Sounds like a zombie cult to me, but
Yeah, except it's all symbolic, so
Yeah.
it's not quite.
Well,
It's
some
like-
people, it's symbolic, but
So
they
it's a
literally
symbolic
believe,
zombie
like,
cult.
Once you drink it, it
Yeah.
transforms, and then you're eating flesh or whatever. And,
Right.
ugh.
I've
never believed that.
and all that good stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
this should have been our Halloween episode.
You know,
Yeah.
hey.
Is
we
there
can go
anything
back
else
in
that
time.
we need to cover? Want to cover anything else?
I wanted to talk a little bit about the demon himself. Like like I said, it sounds like he's recounting a dream, and he's goes in some contradictory stuff. But he kind of goes with this stereotypical demon with huge horns and
Oh, you're talking about the entity in the other dimension.
where he was
Okay.
in his REM sleep, and
Yeah.
apparently DMT got released in his REM sleep, and he went to the spiritual realm.
Well,
and saw
like
a
we talked
demon.
earlier in sleep paralysis, there always seem to be some type of main entity or entities that are either watching over you, restraining you, or somehow involved. It's very common. I mean, this is not something that's unique to experience.
But
They're usually silent. They're watching over you.
Yeah.
They may even
didn't mean any harm. He just wanted him to look
Mm-hmm.
at him, and then he had this demon had respect for him. I would have never heard.
Well, I've
of
heard.
it.
So with sleep paralysis, there's more of a malevolent feeling, but with the DMT, the stories I've heard, there's more of a kind of a supreme being type of feeling, like a ascended being that was a higher being, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I attribute that to the fact that my senses weren't fully connected. My brain and the body weren't
Well, I
fully
think
connected.
he mentioned 1,000 times pain of death and torture, but then he says he figured that out later. I don't know how. Like,
Was it that, or was it that his wife's hand were reptilian that he figured out later?
I was not clear on that. It was maybe both, but he does mention like this. He felt this really bad pain kind of thing, and
Like 1,000 deaths,
1,000 deaths to the max. And if he doesn't want to do him harm, then why does he feel this pain? I was confused about that. But then,
pain would be.
I think he was looking back at his memories of his dream and
filling in the blanks,
you
like
know,
we're known to do as
right.
So he was saying about DMT, about people doing it, is that they don't want your mind open.
Right.
They want to hold you down.
Right.
Who's they?
The dark forces, the dark powers of the world want to hold you down. Yeah, it's that was the conspiracy theory part of it, is that they're outlawing DMT so we don't open our minds and
Well, they are pretty busy.
migrate to the next dimension.
They are pretty busy.
I guess I don't know.
They're everywhere.
They are.
They'll get you.
They.
the infamous
Ominous they.
They,
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
They'll get you.
Yeah. But and I would have never
get got.
thought never heard that angels were terrifying to look at. I always thought, what I believed, I always thought that they were beautiful and light and fair
so
skin.
in a Pentecostal, so we were taught to fear angels because not only are they supposed to be these beautiful creatures, they are creatures of war. They do bring death and pestilence, and they do the dirty work of God.
Interesting.
So they're the ones that rained
Why
fire and
can't God do
brimstone.
his
So how
own
do you
dirty work?
explain Castiel? Because Castiel really wasn't that.
Who's that?
Never mind. You haven't watched the Supernatural series?
No.
I've only seen bits and pieces.
Yeah, he's an
First
angel on
season.
on
Oh, interesting.
Supernatural, yeah.
I was like, what part of the Bible is that? Anyways.
no.
Yeah.
All right. What else we got? We got anything else?
No, I don't think so. Oh, it's not all about demons though. It's about Jesus.
about
That was an
Jesus. The
interesting
sun.
wrap up. Yeah,
The
the
sun.
sun.
S-U-N.
The breeze, yeah. But
Yeah, it's S-U-N or S-O-N, I don't know
I
which.
don't get that either. I've heard that, but I never thought the sun and the sun were like intermixed or anything.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
but Jesus.
Yeah.
It's with Jesus. All
I
right.
don't. His whole story was about this demon and DMT experience and spiritual realms and spiritual awakening. But it's not about demons. It's about Jesus. I thought, he had to bring it back around to Jesus is good, Jesus is love, and all this. And
Well, that would just make a good T-shirt. But Jesus.
Right.
But Jesus. All right. Before we go, I want to do one thing.
okay,
Okay.
I've been hearing things.
okay,
I've been hearing things that people of the religious flavor, if they have problems, that they can open it right to the Bible, and they will they'll have a message from God. They feel like God's speaking to them, and it is whatever's going through their mind or their problems, that they have the answers right there. So I want to kind of do that, run a little experiment.
Yeah,
so I have a Bible here. I want to get some problems that you guys are having, and I'm going to open it to a random page and see if we will have our answers given to us.
yeah. I've heard the stories where they do they're having problems in their life and they go to read the book, and it's just when they open it that speaks to them, and that's the message from God. Yeah, I always believed that. I never had it happen to me.
So I'm dealing with pestilence. I'm having bad encounters with bugs.
Where did you eat last night? That
I
might
didn't
be
know.
the problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yesterday I walked into a spider web, and
Oh, yeah.
I may have
Screamed like a little girl?
a
Probably.
big girl.
A big girl.
Or become a kung fu expert.
But it was one of those spiders with a shell. It was It was an unnatural demonic spider. There was no good that would have came out. I would not have gotten super spider like strength from this bite.
The only demonic spiders are the little bitty brown ones, or
No.
yeah. But let's hit the Bible.
Yep. What do you got?
My problem, I've got a new job, been there for a little bit, and started off in training in an early shift, and now I'm working a late shift, and little problems adjusting. get home off of work at midnight, and then I'm up till like 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, and
Oh, you're gonna get sleep
Little out of
paralysis
whack.
if you don't watch it.
yeah.
You gotta
Get
make
full
sure you're
experience, I can relate.
refreshed with that DMT.
Every morning, a cup of Joe and EMT.
Yeah, I just have been having. Let's see, my life is actually pretty good. I got to think.
Can
about
I have your life, please?
it. No, I like my life.
Yeah.
No sleep entities.
No, I've crafted it pretty well. Actually, my biggest problem right now is that I need to find a marine diesel mechanic.
I was just thinking that you've got your boat, you've got to repair.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I need right now is a marine
Okay.
diesel mechanic.
All right.
So let's see if they give me a phone number.
Yeah, Jesus has his work cut out for him. All right.
Yeah, really.
Let's go to Mark chapter 13, verse 27. And then shall he send his angels and shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from uttermost parts of the earth, of the uttermost part of heaven.
Why isn't it the three winds? That would have been a better verse. But
The four winds.
And then what are the angels going to do? Are they going to fix my boat, or are they?
angels are going to fix your boat. They're
Are they
going to
gonna
fix
give-
my sleep cycle.
So, and then shall he send his angels and shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the uttermost parts of heaven and earth to the uttermost part. I'm sorry, from the uttermost part of heaven to the uttermost part of earth. So,
I think
I got the bug thing covered. I got angels on my side.
I think he's going to get his boat fixed and then sail from
Miraculously.
the uttermost part of heaven to the.
Yeah,
We got
Yeah.
angels.
I think this one failed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
This
think
one was
yeah.
weird. Four
So-
winds? I don't know.
Well, let's put it out there to our viewers. If you guys have,
Yeah.
if this particular verse would help you out in your life by some miracle of complete random chance, let us know in the comments below.
We just don't have our minds open because
Right,
we
we got a
haven't had the
pretty picture
DMT
of you.
experience.
Yeah, pretty pictures.
Dark Force have been keeping
I
us
like
down.
Bibles with pictures.
Yeah, Bibles with pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leave us a comment. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Tell us how
please
this
like and
affected you.
subscribe. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Take care. I'm Derek Hawke.
Rachel Watson.
Jim Barrows.
Bye-bye.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
day.